Choosing a nursery is a really big decision and it can be very overwhelming because there are loads of options, and if you're new to the system or a first time mom, it can really feel like you're confused about what you need to check for. So in this video, I'm going to be highlighting 10 different things that are important when trying to select a nursery that suits your child and also your lifestyle. So let's hop right to it. Hi guys, if you're new here, welcome, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you. My name is Ayo and I'm a GP trainee currently navigating like the joys of motherhood on maternity leave. And honestly, this was literally me. I was so confused as to what you're supposed to check for in the nursery, more because I really haven't been in the UK for a long time, and apart from that, I've actually never had a child before, so I've never had to navigate this terrain at all. But having gone to almost 10 nurseries so far and being able to compare like some of the features, I think I've been able to come up with 10 important things that you should check out for, particularly if your child has certain needs attached to these points. The most important objective thing I would say you should check out for is the Ofsted rating. So Ofsted basically is the Office for Standards in Education, Children's Services and Skills. So they basically assess these daycare or these nursery facilities, and what they do is that at the end of their assessment they give an objective report which is attached to a rating. So you can find that nurseries can have ratings all the way from inadequate to outstanding, and this kind of helps you to see how well they're adhering to the standards that have been set for them. Apart from looking at the rating, it's also very important to check the report, because the report can actually give you an insight as to why they have achieved that rating, if they have indeed gone above and beyond the standards, or if truly based on what you perceive from the report you can see that that's actually not a very safe place to send your child to. Another important thing is also going through the past couple of years just to see how the report is. Are they on a downward spiral or are they on an upward spiral? It kind of helps you to see the theme, overall theme in that nursery. Number 2, I would say, is the staff qualification and ratios. Ideally, there should be a good number of level 3 early years educators within the team. So like these people are qualified in early years training and should be able to provide your child with all the essential elements of early years education. Apart from that, there are ratios that they're supposed to adhere to. So in the class for the less than 2s, the ratio ideally should be 1:3, and this is because they're quite dependent on the personnel to actually care for them to ensure that they're safe and secure. While in the 2 to 3 year olds, it can actually increase from 1:3 to 1:5, which is what the new recommendation is. And then in the people just waiting to go to school, that's about 3 to 4 year olds, you can see it increasing to 1:8, and if they have a qualified teacher present, it can increase all the way from 1:13. I feel like apart from the qualification of maybe a number of the members of the nursery team being level 3 qualification and above, it's also quite important to see their qualifications elsewhere. Like, how do they respond to common emergencies with children? How do they respond to fevers? How do they respond to allergies? How do they respond to choking? Have they been trained? These are quite important because you can never tell when these type of emergencies can arise, and you want to be sure that your child is in safe hands, to be able to safe hands that could easily respond to these emergencies in a timely fashion and ensure that the best care is offered. Because at this point, remember, if children have febrile illness, they could actually have seizures. Number 3 is one that most people pay attention to. So this is the learning environment, both the indoor and the outdoor space. You want to be sure that the indoor space is actually age appropriate. So you're going into the less than 2 year old rooms, you should be seeing more sensory things, black and white things, just like more playful things in the environment, more safe and secure equipment in the environment that's not necessarily going to pose danger to the child if the child was to play too roughly with it. So that's what you're expecting in that particular age group. Based on what you know your child would play with at home, you can now take that idea and go over there, check out the indoor space and see if it offers that, that bright and playful environment that your child will be attracted to. That's one. Then another thing is the outdoor space. As we said, the outdoor space really matters because there could be a risk of injuries there if it's not a very safe space. So I always try to look out for how the floor is actually padded. Is it really padded? Is there like maybe after the padding astroturf, to make sure that these children, when they fall, when they kind of like run over it or they skid over it, they don't have like significant injuries. You're not expecting your child to come home with like a huge sore or a bruise or things like that, because this environment is safe and padded to suit their growing and developing bodies, basically. Another thing to focus on concerning the learning environment is also like the sleep areas. Like, where did these children sleep? Do they sleep on the floor? Do they sleep within a crib? Like, depending on their age, what's the sleep environment like? And then does someone actually stay there and watch over them while they're sleeping, or are they monitored through a camera? Because I find that when people are present there monitoring them, they tend to check like every 10-15 minutes or otherwise. But with the camera, they kind of just look at, are they breathing, like is their chest moving? And sometimes you can't really see because these children can put themselves in very awkward positions. But you will be more at peace, I think, if you have someone in the room checking them every so often, just to make sure that they're breathing, they're in good positions to ensure good sleep. So the fourth thing would be to find out if they actually adhere to the key person system. So the key person system is basically one personnel that's very acquainted with your child, kind of knows the ins and outs of your child, their allergies, what their learning development needs are, or what like their developmental milestone needs are at that particular time. So they can work with you as the parent to ensure that the child is actually developing and growing in the best possible way, being furnished with all that's necessary for the next stage of their development. So I feel like that's such a beautiful thing to see that personalized care shaped out through that personnel, and to also be able to get feedback daily or feedback every so often, just to know what you need to do at home in addition to what they're doing, to ensure that your child is holistically getting the best possible care from both ends. So the fifth thing will be the settling in support that's offered. I think that's something important to check for, because when you first take your child to the nursery, they will not be keen to actually stay at the nursery. So you need to do some sort of graded exposure while you kind of get your child acclimatized to this new environment through gradual increase in the duration of time that they spend there independently. So most nurseries have sort of like a structure around this, but it basically entails like maybe the first time you're there, the first like 15 minutes of the entire time you're supposed to spend there, you spend with your baby, you kind of have a laugh around, and then the next 15 minutes you go and stay outside somewhere separate in the nursery where your child can see you, and they see how your child kind of manages. So that sort of time frame is increased gradually until your child is maybe able to stay half day or a full day without you being present. So it really depends on the nursery, and you want to find out if they're very flexible with it, because I've been to a nursery where they said like if it takes a month for your child to settle in, we're happy to do that for you for free. So that's something that you need to look at. Like, what if your child actually has a tough time settling in? How happy are they to continue this process of settling in? The next thing is the curriculum and activities, and I know that it's quite possible for it to be like, I don't really care, just take care of my baby, give it my baby back, that kind of thing. But I think it's also a good opportunity to get your child exposed to the different areas of learning so that they can actually thrive in their language, their social skills, and so on. So you have the early years foundation stage statutory framework that they're all about abide by, both the childminders and also the nurseries, and they're supposed to encourage creativity, encourage communication, encourage independence, encourage social skills. So these are beautiful things for your child to actually thrive at. So finding out if they adhere to it, finding out if they actually encourage it in their day-to-day curriculum is actually quite good. The next thing I would say is parent communication. So how do they communicate with you? Do you get newsletters? Do you get messages daily? Is there a book that they issue a report for your child every day, like what your child ate, how much they pooped, how much they peed, like any significant activity or any significant milestone that day? I find that some nurseries use books, some nurseries use apps and things like that. So you just really want to find out what mode of communication is offered and if that's something that's suitable for you. Number 8 would be food and nutrition. So lots of nurseries actually have their own chefs that create the food from scratch, which is beautiful because it's the most organic form of nutrition that you can give to your child. But some other nurseries might incorporate some things that are bought from stores and stuff like that. So you need to actually find out if you're comfortable with it. Apart from that, you need to look at the timetables, because they do issue the the food table. They do issue the food table most times according to the season of the year. So you should check it out and see if this is something that's good for your child based on your lifestyle, based on maybe your choices and things like that. But also consider the allergy risk. Like if a child is someone who has dairy allergy, how do they respond to that? How do they modify the diet to make sure that it works for your child? If your child is maybe gluten allergic or gluten sensitive, these are things to actually ask in detail, just to find out what their mode of like intervention is, what they would really do in that setting where your child has those sensitivities, intolerances, or allergies. Number 9 is fees and funding, and I think that this is something that might even take center stage compared to a lot of things I've already said, because it depends on whether you can afford it or not. So you need to find out, apart from just what the daily cost is, you need to find out what time period it covers, because you might just be thinking, oh, they said a day is £60, but that day might start from 9 p.m. and end by 4 p.m. Does that work with your lifestyle? Will you be able to cope? Do you want a nursery that maybe opens earlier by like 7:30 and then closes by like 5:30 to allow you to get to work on time and also return in time to pick up your baby? Or do you want to find out if these nurseries have the room for like an early bird where you kind of resume earlier than the time, maybe 7:15 rather than 7:30, and maybe they close later for you, so maybe 6 o'clock rather than 5:30? Is there sort of like room to accommodate that within the fees, or do you have to pay a separate fee? So that's something you need to find out as well. Even with funding, if you find out that you qualify for funding, I spoke extensively about funding, particularly for a skilled worker, in my previous video, which I'll link up below. But if for some reason you actually find out that you don't qualify, there are other things that they can actually do for you in terms of like making sure that all of it is incorporated into the flat fee that you pay. But for people who get funding, it's important that you check what the extra demands are, because some places will ask you to bring your diaper, some places will ask you to bring your food, to bring your milk, to bring clothes, to bring money whenever they're going on specific activities or doing specific events, which the other person who's paying for out of pocket will need to do, because it's all incorporated, like I said earlier. So that's something you need to check out as well. The last thing I think is so important, and far outweighs every other thing I've said, is gut feeling and reviews. So when you step into a nursery, I can't explain it, but you kind of feel like the vibe of the nursery. I've stepped into nurseries that were rated as good, or even nurseries that are rated as requires improvement, but like the atmosphere is so loving, so kind. You then need to go and check out the report and see what their lapses are. And I've stepped into some outstanding nurseries that I didn't necessarily take to. So it really just depends on that inner feeling, that inner witness as to what the atmosphere feels like for you. So I think pay attention to that. But even more than that, maybe you're getting like a good feel, maybe you're getting like not so good feel, go check out the reviews, see what other people have to say about the nursery, and don't look for the glowing reviews alone. Don't just be like, oh, it's good. Look at like the underlying theme, like what's actually common to all these comments. Is it that the personnel, they're kind? Is it that they take complaints seriously? What actually is the underwritten statement about everything that the people in the comments are writing, or people in the reviews are writing? And if you can get a one-on-one review from a friend, that's even more perfect, because you can trust that this person is not necessarily trying to be pleasant or anything. This person is being raw, being very honest, and being vulnerable. So I think that's also something very good to do whenever you're trying to choose a nursery. So I hope these 10 points have actually really helped you, because I feel like they kind of helped me to see and value the nursery that I have eventually chosen. So I think that if you have this as a checklist, which I would link in the description below, I've created like a checklist, so you can always take it to whichever nursery you go to and kind of put them next to each other and then evaluate them, and then just decide, oh, this is the best for me, this is the best for my baby, this is the best for my lifestyle. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps more people see it. And then if you feel something stood out to you, you could leave a comment in the description. If there's something I missed that's very important to check, please help our mamas out there by leaving it in the comments as well. And then please subscribe, because there's so much more coming and I'll be so excited to share it with you. Take care. Bye.